Gerald Celente of trendsresearch.com. He needs no introduction here. And I've got a lot of questions I want to ask up front about the economy, where he sees it going, where he sees the attempts to cause civil wars going. Even AFP admits that's the attempt happening in France right now as people fight back against globalism. So we're going to cover some of that. But, Gerald, what else do you want to break down? What else are you looking at in new trends and developments?
Well, just what you were talking about with the vaccines and the drugs and how, the whole industry is really killing people, and the products that you have on InfoWars that help people in whole health healing are really what people should be focusing on as they see the sham on the other end. There was a drug, I'm not sure of the name of it. It was in the late 1980s, up into the mid 1990s, late 90s, that they were recommending that women take as they were going into menopause. And then anybody that came out against it, like yourself or any others, was attacked by the media. And of course, the media is owned by the corporations. And I think it was progesterone or named something similar to that. And what they found out is that as they were pumping this stuff into women, it was causing cancer. But this is going on for decades. And anybody that came out against it was attacked.
Sure, it was estrogen.
Estrogen, that was it. Thank you. And that's what's going on with this whole vaccination craze. It's merely there to make Big Pharma richer. And the politicians, I worked up in Albany. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate and was in the political scene for many years. You don't need a lot of dough to buy these clowns off. They like to call them campaign contributions. Adults call them bribes and payoffs. So now you were talking also, and all things connected, what was going on in France. Let's just stay on the drug issue for a while and what they're forcing parents to do in this country by forcing the children to get vaccinated when they go into school. Well, over there in Italy right now, a new party, the Five-Star Movement, Cinque Stelle, you know what they're fighting against? Forced vaccinations of kids, while everybody else in this country is shoot 'em up, shoot 'em up. Well, he's not the establishment at all. And the reason the markets are going up is because of, again, the things that you mentioned, consumer confidence, small business confidence is at it took its biggest spike since 1980. That's when Ronald Reagan got elected. That was after stagflation and Jimmy Loser Carter. The guy that gave us, by the way, the Mujahideen that then became Al-Qaeda that everybody forgets about. And also the guy, remember the Iran hostage crisis. So after that, Reagan comes in, boom, the economy zaps. That's the same emotion, because now the business of America is business. And the business of America, since Clinton, really, he was the Iraq War, the Yugoslav War, the Bosnian War, and then he was bombing Iraq 3 times a week. And then Bush comes in with the war on terror, Afghan, Iraq War. Obama keeps them going. And now we have someone that talks about business first. And what happened yesterday? They brought in Wilbur Ross as the Commerce Secretary, who was finally okayed as the cabinet position. You like Wilbur Ross? Do you think he's a ruthless business guy? Maybe. But guess what? If he's going to work on behalf of we the people in renegotiating these lousy trade deals, and they are terrible trade deals, and I'll make that really clear just to put some facts, that's exactly it. And that's why the markets are going up. And again, as you know, I'm a political atheist. When Trump got in, and it's on, in fact, it's in writing, it's in our broadcasts, 5 days afterwards, and I saw the market going up, we did a 180 on our economic. Now, he'll be successful, again, going to a guy like Wilbur Ross. Now, just to put this into perspective, when I say the trade deals are lousy, because I'm not making this up, there was a thing called the chicken tax. And what happened back in the 1960s is that the United States was dumping a lot of cheap poultry into Europe, particularly Germany. In retaliation, Germany raised the import taxes of chicken coming in. LBJ, President Johnson, put on a chicken tax. If you're going to bring Volkswagens into the United States, particularly those van-sized ones, the little buses, we're going to put a 23% tax on all of them. And they did. And did it stop Volkswagens from bringing them in?
No.
No. And what happened? Then they kept that tax on until Slimer, Slick Willie sellout Clinton, that miserable little boy of a nothing with a bad attitude and a lot of lies and blood on his hands, brought us NAFTA. And Al Gore, that all those liberals love, they forgot about that debate with Ross Perot, didn't they? When he warned of the great sucking sound of our jobs leaving the country.
Boy, was Ross Perot not proven absolutely dead on.
So you can have these tariffs. They're not a dirty word. The only thing that free trade has given, it's not fair trade, it's slave trade. Nancy Pelosi or Minnie Mouse? I mean, who are you talking about? I mean, what is she? I mean, there's another one, born on third base and thought she hit a home run. Her old man was in the business of a politician, and she just found her way in there. What has Nancy Pelosi ever done? Any of them? Pelosi, not so far. How about look her up on YouTube? I guaranteed Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. You remember her saying that how many times?
Oh, yeah.
So again, going back to the whole crew and putting the whole picture together, it's not only the Democrats. I mean, it's little Paulie Ryan.
He's the worst.
Yeah, what was he, Eddie Munster before this? So I'm saying there's no one there.
I agree.
Well, again, you mentioned De Niro. To me, he's a little low-life nothing. He doesn't live far from over here. Maybe he wants to come and punch me in the face because I think he's a lowlife. I don't like these little Italian boys or partially Italian that keep promoting lousy mafia movies. I don't like these kind of guys. So anyway, he's just a fat mouth. And when you talked about his child having autism, and then you remember he pulled that movie out of the Tribeca Film Festival.
He gave in to censorship.
Because maybe the guy that talks tough has a little pair of cojones smaller than a mothball. Because only a little boy would be a coward to pull those movies.
You're on a roll, Gerald. Let's come back and talk about that. What do you want to tackle first?
Well, let me finish on the economy because it ties in a lot to your first guest as well. Corsi is his name? Or?
Yes, Dr. Jerome Corsi.
Yes, and he was talking about Obamacare. What this is that people aren't putting into connection. You remember another thing called too big to fail.
Yes.
All right, in capitalism, there's no such thing as too big to fail. You rise and fall on your own merits. This is not a failure of capitalism. Then you go back to Obamacare.
Sure.
And then what happens is we're being forced under Obamacare, first of all, to pay a penalty and taxes, but the bigger one, being forced to buy insurance from a private company. That's called what I just said, too big to fail, and Obamacare. It's the merger of state and corporate powers, which by definition is called fascism. And then when you talk about why the liberals don't complain, and again, all of these protests week after week, what are they protesting? Where were they when Obama was destroying Libya, killing 30, 40,000 people? All these little liberals had lockjaw. How about Hillary Clinton? Assad has to go. Gaddafi has to go. Oh, that's all right. We'll forget about that because we're little low-life hypocrites that have no courage. And then you keep going on. How about Obama, the Nobel Piece of Crap Prize winner? As soon as he gets it, bam, more troops into Afghanistan. No, I know the ones the liberals love the most. I'm really good at killing people. Quoted in the book, Double Down. Over 4,000 innocent people killed by Obama. And then again, tying it all together, you asked why they do it. And the reason is the same reason why people are in abusive relationships. They call themselves party members, little kids calling themselves party members to a party that they're never invited to, of course. Party only steals from them, that a murderer's in. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. They're in an abusive relationship. Their husband or wife kills, and it's okay with them. So then tying this all together about too big to fail and going back into what Corsi said about Obamacare, the merger of state and corporate powers, and where the economy is going. We believe there's going to be, it's in the Trends Journal just came out today, the new edition, and it's in there. Briefly, there's going to be a market correction. No question about it. You don't have a boom like this in any kind of condition, no matter who's there, without a correction.
And by the way, Faber and a lot of other people are saying that. They're saying it's not Trump's fault.
But what we're saying is that it's not going to be a crash. There'll be a market correction, and then if Trump sticks by and does, and we can't say if he's not or is going to continue it, but if he, and again, like them or not the issue, if he goes with his tax cuts that he's promising, if he does the deregulations that he says he's going to do, and if he goes into the infrastructure program that he says, if he brings back jobs to America, then yes, the correction will be just that, a correction and then a bounce back, and that's in our latest Trends Journal. Now, bringing it back to Jeff Beck and talking about how dare we be nationalistic, go back to our top trends of 2016. And one of the top one was a self-sustaining economy. So in one time, for example, in New York area, you had over 300,000 people in the, again, 98% of our clothing comes from, yes, it is. It's real in that sense. And those are the things I agree with them on. On the war front's a whole different issue, as you know. But it's talking about the economy, and again, not what I like or don't like, it's what is. And the what is, he's building confidence. That's why you're seeing the markets go up. And not only our markets, but emerging markets that was submerging. Yeah. On the economy, yes. And Americans should be thanking him. But you see where they're going wrong is they just keep about immigration. Go back again to the Great Depression. Nobody was allowed to come in. It wasn't about Mexico. You couldn't come in from Italy. You couldn't come in from Germany. You couldn't come in from anywhere. We couldn't take care of our own. Once you take care of your own.
Exactly. So this is kind of a heavy subject. I want to have some entertainment here, you know, kind of a laugh break. CNN claims they do not root for any president as they demonize Trump and fawn after Obama. Here it is.
Seems to me there's a reason that they were blocked. Again, that's really troubling. And on the flip side, you look at those who are allowed in, Brian Stelter, namely Breitbart and the conservative paper, The Washington Times. There's a theme.
Yeah, that's the essential point, I think. We've seen this administration stacking the deck with friendlier news outlets. And when I say friendlier, what I mean are news outlets that have a point of view. In some cases are openly rooting for the president. We don't see CNN or the New York Times rooting for any president, whether a Democrat or Republican.
Okay, I want Gerald to comment on that, but that is so rich.
Let's put the facts into place. What's that guy?
We have WikiLeaks. We have all the memos where they give the questions at press conferences to CNN to ask, to the New York Times to ask. They're giving her the debate questions. They're rigging everything. They're totally rooting for Hillary and the rest of it. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go back to that guy Stephanopoulos. Who did he work for? The Clintons. What's that guy, little Chucky Todd?
Yeah.
On Meet the Prostitutes. Oh, what did he say? Oh, that they were too easy on Clinton. Oh, that's a fact.
But, I mean, Clinton's running him. Clinton was actually running him and telling him what headlines to have. That's what I'm saying. How does he get away with saying...
But I'm saying, though, he worked for a Democrat, too.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying. They've all been in bed with the parties. So they're going after Trump because he's cutting them out.
He's breaking up the old system.
And that's when they made up the whole fake news story, when the media lost. That's when they made, you go right back. It's right after Trump gets elected, boom, they start hitting with fake news. They are the fake news propagandists, the people that gave us all these wars. Well, we won't go into that.
By the
And again, as you mentioned, the facts are there with WikiLeaks. They were giving Hillary the questions before the debates, the town hall meetings. And then again, with NBC, with that Meet the Prostitute guy.
Sure, so when we come back, I want to ask you this question. How will the mainstream media die? I think Trump kicking him out, not going to the correspondence dinner is kind of the final tombstone that the facade's about to fall over with the next big wind, and then what comes out of that. But first, here's Trump a few weeks ago saying the whole Russia thing is a ruse. Now the head of the intelligence committee comes out and says there's not even phone calls. There's no evidence. We just kept hearing this from Brennan, who's a Wahhabist. None of it was true. Here's the president.
Can you just say
Russia
yes or no
is
on
a
it?
ruse. Yeah, I know you have to get up and ask a question, so important. Russia is a ruse. I have nothing to do with Russia. Haven't made a phone call to Russia in years. Don't speak to people from Russia. Not that I wouldn't. I just have nobody to speak to.
No, let's stop right there. The Young Turks came out and said he's a liar. He knows Roger Stone, who's a Russian agent, though that's never been proven. And now they've had to come out and admit none of that's even there. Not on Stone, none of them. Zero. Stone in the 80s helped roll up a Soviet spy nest in Washington, D.C. It's the biggest load of crap the world's ever seen. Gerald, we're going out to break. What do you say to that?
Well, again, you know, the Democrats, don't they love war? No peace with Russia. We got to make America hate again.
Let's play that clip again and get Gerald's comment.
We don't see CNN or the New York Times rooting for any president, whether a Democrat or Republican.
Gerald, I'm sorry. That's just too much.
Well, you know, I did on your show one time. I kept putting up the headlines of the New York Times throughout August, day after day after day. We're through.
And you went back years ago and you showed how positive they were towards Obama versus Trump.
Exactly. There was no honeymoon for Trump at all.
Well,
and again, you have to look at who these people work for. The Stephanopoulos guy was the Clinton's top guy, you know, for many years in the beginning of his campaign. And there he is, play Chris Cuomo on CNN. Oh, Chris Cuomo, isn't his brother the governor?
The governor.
I'm just saying, he's a member of the Democratic Party. His brother's governor.
No, absolutely.
His father was governor. So let's call it what it is. Again, Chuck Todd. You know, he worked for the Democratic governor. You know, a senator wanted to run for president. You know, they're all connected to the family, the murderous family, going back to Trump and the economy. The economy, we're saying, and you know I was negative on it until 5 days after the election. The economy has a great potential to expand if we become a self-sustaining economy. And that means you make your products here. Why not? We did it for centuries. Every successful country has. You have to. It's who they are. They're either sociopaths or psychopaths in the business. You know, again, as you mentioned, you know, we call things the way they are. One of the key stories in the Trends Journal that just came out is play the Trump card. We said whether you like them, dislike them, good or bad, not the issue. Look at the positives. See the direction things are going and play the Trump card. This is a guy that became president of the United States by defying all of the ground rules. He played his own game, and you can too.
Absolutely. Gerald, thank you so much. Look forward to speaking to you again, my friend.
Thank you.
Always great. Fourth hour with Owen Schroyer straight ahead. I've got some other announcements.